Alright, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video here on the channel, and today we're going to be taking a look at how, I guess, fat people are oppressed. Now, to be completely blunt with you guys, I never really thought that, thin privilege was a thing. I never really thought that fat people had it as hard as they're pretending that they have it on social media. In fact, I have to say quite the opposite, right? I mean, if you're a fat person, especially like here in the West, I mean, if you're in the United States and you're fat, I would say your life is actually probably pretty good, right? I mean, you definitely are getting some steady food into your system. There's a lot of people around the world who can't say that. I would say it's a privilege to be able to eat way more than you need to survive. But apparently being fat actually means that you face oppression that skinny people do not face on a daily basis, and you're actually a victim. So I've actually kind of talked about this topic before. There's like this, it seems, very vocal minority out there that likes to basically spin their own problems around into how they can, I guess, make it someone else's problem. It's like, yeah, I eat 7,000 calories a day. I've had fast food 6 times this week and it's Monday. I literally never exercise ever, so how can I make it not my fault? That's basically what a lot of this really screams to me, at least. So today we're going to take a look at some TikToks that I saw that I think can definitely be used to kind of highlight this issue. I want this to be an educational video. You guys are going to be woke today. You guys are going to wake up. It's time for you to realize the amount of oppression that the entirety of American society, I guess, has been putting on fat people. And before we even get into this video, I want to point out that here in the United States, where the vast majority of you live and where I'm going to presume that a lot of the people that will be in today's video actually reside, 36.5% of all US adults are obese, with another 32.5% being overweight, combining for well over 2/3 of all American adults being either overweight or obese. So when large people like to point out this idea that they're being oppressed, right, that they're, somehow being stepped down on by society, go ahead and realize that the majority of people in this country are the people who are claiming oppression. It's pretty hard to be oppressed when you're literally the fucking vast majority of the population, I would say. Like, in what world is it possible to oppress 2/3 of the population on something so trivial? I don't know, but with that being said, let's go ahead and jump into today's video.
Skinny people have taken over the body positivity movement because skinny people are more scared of being fat than fat people are.
Okay, I'm not sure necessarily. Okay, so skinny people have taken over the body positivity movement. That's some pretty hostile language, you know? It seems like you're one of these people who only really promote positivity for yourself, right? Yeah, you're fat or whatever, and you think that body acceptance is cool then, but then when people who are, bony or whatever, skinny, whatever you want to call them, whenever they point out the fact that, hey, we get made fun of too. People call us, skeletons and shit all the time. We get a lot of harassment. We face a lot of, prejudice in society for our eating habits. All of a sudden, that's not good enough for you because they're more scared of being fat than fat people are. Well, yeah, that's kind of a given, right? Being fat is not healthy. Okay, how much medical evidence do we really have to go through to point this out? It's not medically healthy to be overweight, obese, realistically any of it, okay? There's negative health effects to it. There's also negative health effects to not eating enough and, not maintaining a proper weight altogether, but yeah, there's a pretty good reason of, I guess, being scared to be fat.
I know fat phobia has affected skinny people as well, and that can also be really damaging, but you live within privilege, and fat people do not. You live in a world that was made for you, and fat people do not.
Yeah, of course, I guess you could say that the world was made for skinny people because that is the ideal body type. I mean, it's time to just face facts here, okay? The ideal body type is not somebody who's 550 pounds, 5'2", never exercises or anything, right? It's not ideal, okay? It doesn't mean you're a bad person. It doesn't mean you're any less of a human being. It just means you don't have the ideal body type. Guess what? It's not fucking privileged to be healthy, okay? Well, I mean, yeah, I guess it could be a privilege to be healthy, but in this circumstance, it's not, okay? A lot of people who are like this, their problem is they eat too much. It really comes down to that. You can blame all these genetic and health things, which they are true for some people, but for the vast majority of people, it's simply just you're eating too much food, or you're eating food that's high in caloric value. It's not really harder than that. You're talking about who has more privilege while you're filming this video on a fucking iPhone, sitting in the mirror of an air-conditioned and heated apartment with electricity, running water, all of that, and you're clearly eating enough food. Not to be an asshole, but you're clearly eating enough, right? There's people who have literally none of that. You want to talk about a fucking privilege? The fact that you could make this point in the first place is a privilege. Unfortunately, you chose to use your privilege to be wrong.
Hey, bestie! you're wrong. I think it's time for another adult pre-K lesson. What do you think?
I think it's about time you shut your obnoxious fucking ass up. Like, first off, I don't know what you think you're doing, but you're not being funny, you're not being cute, you're not being relatable. You're being fucking over the top, you're being obnoxious, you're acting stupid. You clearly, I mean, if you're a normal, rational human being, don't act this way, right? This is not the way anyone behaves. Like, it's time to just stop everything you're doing right now. Just cease and desist, I guess, is the best way to put that shit.
All right, turn your listening ears on. Zoop, catch a bubble in your mouth. Good job. Okay, here's the thing.
Yeah, I'm sure you're about to spit some fucking gems, you know what I'm saying? Just some knowledge, just some truth right on this one, bro. Preach, preach, preach. I can't wait to hear this. I just want to point out your weird infatuation with pre-K learning methods is fucking odd. And all that highlights to me is that mentally you're still stuck at about the age of 4, right? You know, you can't have a civil conversation or like make a point without instantly reverting to what your preschool teacher would have said to you back whenever you were in preschool. Once again, you're not being funny, you're not being relatable. Anyone who relates to this, they pretty much, their opinions don't matter, simply because they're fucking obnoxious. Like, just stop what you're doing. It's not cute, you're too old to act this way, it's over with.
Having a preference is something like, I'm looking for a partner who likes kayaking or wakes up early in the morning.
Is or isn't fat. You can have that preference. It's still a preference. Is the question a little meaner than, hey, is their favorite color red or blue? I prefer people who like blue. Sure, it's a little meaner to say, hey, this person's fucking super obese, I don't want to be with them. Or, hey, this person's super skinny, I don't want to be with them. It's still a preference. Just because it hurts your feelings doesn't mean it's not a preference.
Or loves pizza.
Yeah, that's the thing. They don't want to date someone who overly loves pizza. What the fuck what's the problem? I'm not getting it here.
But when your preferences exclude an entire group of marginalized people, that's problematic.
Who the fuck is marginalized? Do you guys just hear these words online and just start repeating them and saying them? What about you is oppressed or marginalized? You literally consume plenty of food. Like, it's clear. No offense, but it's obvious. You're eating just fine. And if you want to get racial, because you're starting to try and make the marginalization comparison, and honestly, I feel the racial comparison coming on here, you're white. So, what are you talking about marginalized? I'm not understanding. You literally are in all of the majorities of society. What the fuck is being marginalized?
Okay, that's not nice. That's not a preference. If you lump all fat people in one group together as though they are not very different individuals, that's fatphobic. Just like lumping all black people in one group and saying, I don't like black people is racist.
How did I know that it was going to get I knew it was going to become a racial thing. You see, with people like this, you can just kind of fucking detect it, right? This is what I like to call the oppression Olympics. I don't remember where I've heard that before, but you are comparing your experience as a fat white woman to the experience of black people. And I'm assuming you live in the United States, right? So let's go ahead and have a little historical analysis here. Can you tell me when fat people were ever fucking literally enslaved? Can you tell me when fat people suffered from anything like Jim Crow laws or redlining policies or anything like that? Like, have you ever, even opened a history book? Or are you really trying to make this comparison? Let me know when fat people have to drink from a different fucking water fountain as recently as a couple decades ago, okay? Like, I've never went to the mall and seen skinnies only and chunkies only water fountains, okay? When you're legitimately, legally, socially oppressed, okay, to the point that black people have been in this country historically, then go ahead and try to make that comparison. There is no fucking comparison to make. Like, this is such a stupid argument, you know? And all it screams is, hey, please validate me. Hey, please acknowledge that I understand. Like, look at me. You see me? I'm a good person. Like, no, that's fucking stupid. Just shut up.
And lumping all disabled people in one group and saying, I don't think people in wheelchairs are hot, is ableist. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Okay, there's nothing ableist about saying you don't find people who are handicapped attractive. I mean, If your dating preference is to the point where like, yeah, I don't want to have to push somebody's wheelchair around, or like, yeah, I don't want to have to speak sign language to them to communicate, that's understandable. And I think most disabled people would also agree with that. No one's saying that fat people are horrible human beings because they're fat. It's that people can have a preference to not want to be with you. And I'm just going to go ahead and keep it $1.50 here watching this video. I'm starting to think that maybe the reason you can't find somebody for yourself isn't because you're fucking fat. It's because you have the personality of an 11-year-old child seeking validation on social media. You use terms that children use. You speak like a fucking idiot. You're clearly not into science. You're clearly not into factual information. Maybe if you weren't so snarky and condescending because somebody has a preference you don't like, maybe you could fucking find somebody. I mean, I'm just saying, I've seen plenty of fat people out there who were able to pull them somebody, you know? Maybe they weren't a 10 out of 10, or maybe they were. But I'm going to go ahead, if I'm a betting man in Vegas, I'm going to put most of my money on just people realize that you're not really somebody to be around, right? So now that we got the chance to break this down and I guess talk this one out, I'd love to hear what you guys have to say down below. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe if you're brand new around here on the channel, follow me over on Twitter and Twitch at @SubToOptimus. Make sure to check out Shop Opti down below. And until my next video, guys, this is Optimus. Well, just no, we're not doing this. And signing out.